All right. Hello and welcome to the Mat to Mastery podcast. This podcast brings the world's greatest martial artist black belts and showcases the ways in which these incredible black belts have used the principles of martial arts, which have transcended their physical, emotional, and spiritual combat. You will get to hear all kinds of stories highlighting those who have integrated these principles into their own leadership journeys. This podcast serves as a beacon of inspiration for those seeking to navigate their own paths of growth, self-improvement, and improve their leadership skills. And it brings me great pleasure with introducing you to the most amazing lady who I had the privilege of meeting many, many years ago at an Australian Girls and Gi camp. She is the first female black belt in Australia. She's a world master champion in both no-gi and gi, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a Pan-American champion. She is a lifestyle coach. She's done all kinds of fitness expert. She's a nutritionist, entrepreneur, a mother, which I can so relate to. She helps people from all over the world, including men, empowering men and women through her training methods. She's got multiple ebooks. She subscribes and includes articles into magazines. She runs seminars all over the world. But what is really, really outstanding right now is she's leading a powerful platform called Lethal Ladies. It's an online platform which I've just recently joined and become a part of, and I can see the power that this platform holds. And I bring you Sophia McDermott. Please welcome the lovely Sophie to the platform. Hello. Yay!
Oh, what a lovely welcome. Thank you, Chef. It's lovely to be on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much for being here. Please tell us more about this amazing Lethal Ladies online platform. What is the purpose? What encouraged you, inspired you to create something amazing?
Yes. Okay. Well, this is really the focus for me at the moment. And it is a culmination of my length of time being in jiu-jitsu and as a woman. So I think, we're still living in a patriarchal system, right? Patriarchal world. And jiu-jitsu is really a patriarchal system within this patriarchal world. So it's like a boys' club, essentially. And, women have sort of worked hard to fit in. But with that, they've gone through a ton of crap, to be honest. Manipulation, grooming, or being ostracized, shoved in the corner, abuse, sexual harassment, different set of expectations, like the list just goes on, right? And so I think where I come in is because so much of this happened to me going through, my journey as well. I think that it's kind of like, no, we don't have to fit in this world. I'm here to say we can create it and shape it for what works for us women.
I love it. I love it. We don't have to fit in. We can create it, yes. Our own world. I love it. I love it. Now,
that's really where I'm going with it. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. And you have a couple of hundred people and members, multiple members from all over the world that are part of this incredible platform that are sharing, feeling inspired and empowered by your leadership. And this podcast encourages, especially those who are seeking to improve their leadership skills. So I wonder, what advice would you give women in leadership roles who are currently struggling, let's say, on a mental level? Because there are some women out there that I know of, and women that I know who know others that are currently going through some mental battles, some mental combats. So I wonder, based on your experience and your knowledge, what sort of, I guess, advice would you give for those women? What sort of how would you recommend that these ladies in leadership women in these leadership roles move forward in their life?
Okay, my question is with this: are they leading men as well, or are they leading women only?
Great question. Great question. And I'm guessing there'll be two separate answers depending on who they're leading, men or women. So let's just say these women are leading not only both men and women, but also leading themselves. So I wonder if there is a principle in, say, jiu-jitsu where you have, in your experience, applied those principles into your own, say, leadership roles, and what advice could you give these other women who may be experiencing some
Sure.
mental challenges?
So I think that the main thing, this applies to both if you're leading women's only and leading men and women, this one thing, and that is like a knowing and a conviction of your own strengths and skill set and expertise. Okay. You're walking around with self-doubt inside, that's going to emanate, and it doesn't matter what you do and it doesn't matter what you say. People can feel it and they'll question you. So it's actually got to come from within here, within, deep, and knowing that you are worthy, that you know your stuff, and like you're damn good at it. So it's that unquestionable knowing of your skill set. Okay. And if someone wants to question you on it, you're like, cool, fire on. Like, well, let's go. What are your questions? Like, you're not kind of like, oh, but I'm at the stage where I've been doing this for so long when no one actually dares question me anyway, because it's the energy I emanate. Okay. So there's that, which is for all types of leadership, but particularly I think women tend to second guess themselves in a leadership role, and then they doubt their skill set when they're dealing with men. Okay. And it's because testosterone enhances confidence, and unfortunately less testosterone diminishes it. Right? Sheryl Sandberg, she ran the whole thing for like Google and Yahoo and stuff in the day. She had 40,000 male employees under her, and she was always like, lean in. She ran these meetings, and the women are all sitting back, too scared to ask questions, and the men are leaning in. They're asking for the job titles. They're asking for the raise. They're pushing for it. And I believe it comes down to one thing. It's confidence. Right? There's plenty of highly qualified women who are not asking for that job promotion or not asking for that raise. And it's got nothing to do with their skill set. It's got everything to do with their level of confidence. Okay? So know it, feel it, embrace it. You're worthy, right? So that's the first one. And the other thing is understanding the dynamic of leadership these days is really changing. So although we are still in this patriarchal world, it is shifting, and it has been shifting, and like, yay. So with that whole sort of like judgmental, punishing almost, like, you will do as I say, that single man and everyone follows, that's dying. People aren't interested in that, as we've all had this collective shift. And what they're looking at is leadership through action. Like you can't talk the talk these days anymore. You have to walk the walk. People are watching. They're watching what you're doing. They're watching how you live your life. They're watching how you hold yourself. So that's leadership these days. And I'm loving this shift because it's leading by example. It's actually opening the doors energetically. And I know I'm actually hugely hippie, so but for the feminine of leadership to come into the forefront. Does that make sense? Because it's not a dominating leadership anymore. It's a collaborative leadership of, hey, I'm walking the walk. Come walk this walk with me.
Yeah, I get it. And that was one of the things that I was attracted to you when I first saw you during that AGIG camp. I thought, wow, this woman has confidence. Like when the way you presented yourself, the way you handled the seminar, and I was really inspired by that. And I wonder if you had a tip. So, for example, women might say, yeah, well, it's easy to say. You just have to be confident. But how do you become confident? If you had a tip, if you had a strategy, what would that be? How can women bring the essence of that confidence and filter that through from within and out?
Sure. Two things maybe here. The first one is maybe put it outside or beyond yourself. So if you take the self away, it might be easier to do. And by that, I mean, look at the greater cause of the mission. So for me, I'm uplifting, I'm spreading the light, I'm helping particularly women seeing their own power. Jiu-jitsu and health and fitness is just the vehicle to do it. So whatever it is, the bigger picture of what that leader is trying to get across, are they leading to, I don't know, help AI systems work more cohesively? So what are the benefits of that? Are they leading to help save the whales? Do you know what I mean? So let's remove the self and look at the cause and the benefits. And then if you truly believe in the benefits, then that might help give more confidence to that leader. So for someone teaching jiu-jitsu, for example, especially a woman teaching jiu-jitsu in a male-dominated field, maybe they don't feel that comfortable being out there at the front teaching to a bunch of men. They're like, oh, I'm so intimidated. But maybe if they put it themselves aside and go, hell yeah, I know these techniques work. They're really good. I do them all the time. It's about the techniques, right? So yeah. So there's that angle. So looking at the greater good or the bigger mission, taking yourself out of it. But the other thing is fake it till you make it. Really.
Right.
There's a lady, I've forgotten her name, she's awesome. She wrote a book, Be It Until You Become It. Came out 6 months ago. What's her name? So she had a really great story. And it's the same idea that, you're feeling uncomfortable at first, especially people that are out in front presenting, right? But then if you you put on that mask, put on your performance face, and then over time, first one's hard, second, third, and then by the time you're at number 10, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm in this role now. It's like breaking into a new pair of shoes, right? Christian Louboutin red-soled high heels, stilettos.
Nice. I like it. It takes me back to the book Think and Grow Rich, where Napoleon Hill talks about act as if. Once you've set the goal, once you have the intention, you know what it is that you want, act as if though you are an actor. I know there's a speech with Jim Carrey who speaks about something very along those lines, that he always had this image of himself as an actor and earning this amount of money, et cetera, et cetera. So I get it. So fake it until you make it. I love it. And I guess that is...
I think having said that, though, you make a really great point, and that book is actually one of my Bibles, by the way. That principle is more about manifesting. So, like, feeling it and believing it so much that it has actually happened. Like, yes, I am a Hollywood movie star, or yes, I've won the Nobel Prize. It's believing it so much that it almost has happened in your being. That, I think, is a little bit different from getting comfortable with being in that position already. Does that make sense? So you fake it first until you're comfortable in that position. And then the next step is like believing it as if it's already happened, of you winning that thing or being that person. I don't know, do you know what I mean? Steps.
Right.
So it's not too overwhelming for the viewers listening. There are steps here.
I mean, a podcast could be just about confidence, and it's this endless conversation just on that alone, I believe, because there's just so many elements to it. So that's awesome. So I guess, I it's as simple as what you just said: fake it until you make it. But would you say that it's fair, that it's important for someone to have an idea of what it is that they want, how they want to feel, how they want others to perceive themselves, and then sort of step into that role of being and acting and becoming and thereby embodying that?
Yes, absolutely. Knowing what you want is first step, actually. So I ask people when I'm teaching them, what are your goals in jiu-jitsu? Or what are your goals in weight loss? Or what is your A game in jiu-jitsu too? So if we're putting it in jiu-jitsu context, it's an alarming amount of people across my path that have no idea what they actually want from it. So it's like, okay, well, what are you working towards then, and what direction are you going in? So yes, absolutely. First and foremost, yes, having that vision. But I do think even if you like have visions of yourself being out there, being this mega master seminar teacher around the world with like 200 people coming to see you showcase your skill set, I don't think any of that's actually possible if you don't have a confidence within for your abilities, right, to actually pull it off in the first place. Does that make sense? Because that radiates, that lack of confidence actually radiates, and people question it.
Yeah, I get it. One of the things in my experience that impacted my confidence, my level of confidence, was getting something wrong or being told that something was wrong, or fear of failure was a big one.
Huge.
Huge, right? And when I learned what Buckmaster Fuller once said, he said that human beings are designed to learn by making mistakes. And that just shifted my entire perception on my perspective on failure. I thought, oh, and from that point on, I embraced failure. And now on the mats, stepping back on as a mature adult, where most of them are very younger, most of the team is younger than me. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, look, I just want to get it wrong, because I know that when I get it wrong, I know there's going to be room for change. There's going to be, I'm going to know which angle to take next time, and if that doesn't work, I'm just going to course correct. So I guess it comes down to a lot of allowing that, yeah, sometimes we're going to get it wrong, and that's okay, and sometimes we're going to get it right, but it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the journey. And creating. Yeah,
this is amazing, and I actually wish more people had this attitude, Sheb, because I think particularly for women, where we feel like and there probably is, there's less opportunity, okay, and there's more pressure, especially if it's in a patriarchal world where like we're outnumbered by men. We feel like we can't mess up at all,
right.
like, and I think this is a reality. I think in the career world, if the guy messes up, it's like, oh, it's all right, he's, but if the girl messes up, everyone's watching. Like, they're almost like, it's just sort of expected for women to just be pulled apart, picked apart, and then if they're nothing but perfect, they are able to be picked apart. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In the
That's a lot of pressure for women, isn't it?
It's ridiculous, and I've seen these memes on Instagram where the woman's being the mum, and then she's being the wife, and she's doing the housework, and then she's in the corporate world. Like, it really is an impossible setup. And I think that society in general just needs to cut some slack on women in general, because we are pulled apart, we are stretched so thin. And, honestly, in the corporate world, and I liken jiu-jitsu to the corporate world, I use the analogy, I use these industries side by side. It's exactly the same, okay? That the woman has to work double as hard to get half as much. And she is constantly proving herself, unfortunately. So your thing about failing, I love it. And I wish more women had adopted this without putting the pressure on themselves to be perfectionists, people pleasers. This is another thing, people pleasing. Okay, and then the rest of the world going, yeah, cool, she's a mom. She's like, I just don't feel that's there enough, because I think you're right. This is absolutely the best way to learn, and the best way actually to build confidence. Yeah. So
yeah.
So here's to the shift in dynamic as well, with just putting yourself out there, no expectations. Who cares what anyone else thinks, right? and just doing it. And if you fail, let's say you go teach a jiu-jitsu seminar or you go to your first tournament and you just mess up, cool. Like, let's just let it go and use it as a learning curve and not worry about what anyone else thinks, because I'm right there with you. But let's add also, taking off that pressure, there's no apology. So that's something that women also do, and it's part of this whole people-pleasing thing, and it's a big topic on Lethal Ladies right now, actually. You know, so let's say you're at jiu-jitsu and you pull off a move and you absolutely like ruin it, and maybe the guy like lands in a thud on a big sweep or whatever, and you know you messed up, but guys kind of like, oh, whatever, and he just does another one. The girl's like, oh, sorry, you okay? Oh my God. She's just apologizing profusely to the whole world. Do you know what I mean? And then that sorry turns into justification as well. It's like, men don't do this, so why do women do it? It's whole psychology is so interesting, isn't it?
And it's so amazing that you've stepped up in your own leadership, Sophie, and you've just taken this Lethal Ladies on a whole new level, supporting all these women. So kudos to you for starting that shift and change. So well done. One of the things I'd love to ask is, what has been the most challenging part of your martial arts journey to achieve your black belt?
Oh gosh. In some ways it was hard, and in other ways it wasn't, because I signed up for this knowing exactly what I was getting into. I fully accepted all the hardships. So I think for me, I actually had an unwavering, there's a word I need here, like I knew I was good, and if I wasn't good enough, I would keep working to be better. So my feelings about myself and my capabilities as an athlete were unwavering. And that's why I go back to the very first thing about confidence. If I didn't have that confidence, if I constantly doubted myself and my skill set, being around men all the time, I would have quit a long time ago. And back in my day, it was just the wolf pack. You had to fit into that hierarchy, and if you didn't, you were shoved off into the corner. And women back in those days, they were either one of the boys, or they were like just taking it seriously. She's hot, maybe, yeah, whatever. She'd shove her off in the corner. There was nothing in between. And so I actually dumbed down my sexuality and decided to take the role of being a boy in the wolf pack, and I sucked it up. And I remember going to training, because I was constantly tested, like, can she keep up with us, right? Always lighter, always smaller, always the only girl. And I would say a prayer in my mind, please don't have any broken bones from this training session. I would literally pray every single time I got on the mat. I wasn't focused on getting the sweep or getting the submission in my early days. For like the first 3 years of training, I was focused entirely on not getting like my stuff broken.
Wow.
Literally hardcore survival mode. And it was nothing but my grit and my determination that kept me through it, and my trust in my abilities to get better.
I love that. I recently came up with a principle called the FIT principle. So I do this in my talks as well. It's as part of my keynote speech. The FIT is to focus. So when we get on the mats, we have got to focus. If you're thinking about what you're going to cook that night for dinner, chances are you're going to end up in a sweep, in a head choke, whatever. Then the second one is intention. So what's the intention? Am I going to close guard, open guard, side control? What am I going to do here? And then if that doesn't work, what are we in? Most of the time, if not 100% of the time, it doesn't go as planned anyway. So you're going to have to find ways to adapt. And then the next one is then, of course, the trust. So trusting, as you just pointed out, trusting your own ability, trusting yourself, knowing that you have the know-how to pull off whatever you have set for yourself in that given situation. Trust, you just hit the nail on the head, is so, so, so huge. I love that.
This is amazing. Great analogy. Yeah, great analogy. Yeah. Love it. Awesome. So, just to finish off about my black belt too, like the 4-minute mile, no one had broken that until I don't know when it was. But I know that that record was broken a month later again. And it's because the world knew that it could be done. So what stops us a lot from our own, like we are our biggest self-limiting factors, right? Is just because something hasn't been done before, or someone tells you that it's not possible or whatever, like we tend to go, oh yeah, okay, and accept that. And I think that's the other thing. Like if there's something that you truly want, let's say you're a female entrepreneur, no men have ever done this before, or like some sort of project you're doing, and like, why not? Just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't be done. And so that mindset that I had kept me going in jiu-jitsu as well, because I dealt with so much crap moving my way up, because no one at that time, the highest ranking female was a blue belt. And I think there were 3 male black belts at the time, and they'd all brought that jiu-jitsu on from overseas. So the pool was pretty limited. And to think that you'd be a female black belt was just absolutely outstandingly ludicrous, right? So that's the other thing. I just marched to the beat of my own drum. I didn't listen to other people's stories, that they kept imposing their own beliefs, their own opinions onto me. And I'm like, block it out. Nope, don't want to hear it. Not interested. Not interested. So I actually decided that I was going to be Australia's first female black belt on my first week of training.
Wow.
And I made an announcement, declared it to my family or people I was around. They all laughed at me. I'm like, yeah, whatever, suckers. I don't care. I didn't let their judgment sway me, their opinion sway me. Yeah.
Wow. That's self-empowerment right there. That's incredible.
It's a knowing and the trust and the confidence. Yes.
I get it. Wow.
Yeah.
Can you share? Sorry, say again.
I'm sorry. Anything is possible. Like anything.
100%.
Yeah.
I get it. Yes. Thank you for sharing that story. Can you share any philosophies or life lessons that you've gained from your jiu-jitsu journey?
I don't know. I think the whole thing has been this path of evolution for me, and then being empowered, or working on empowering myself, and then helping others become empowered. So I can't pick any one thing, or it's just been a whole journey. And I think probably one of the biggest things just I've had to work on is like saying no. That's a big one. Yeah. So I think women, it's so ingrained in us to do the whole people pleasing thing. We want to keep the peace. We want people to like us. We want to be pleasant. And for me, it's just like, no. So now I'm at a point, I'll go to the gym. A guy might say, do you want to roll with me? I'm like, no. Like, I'm not rude about it, but I'm also not apologizing, and I'm not justifying. And a lot of this was actually observation from me watching the men. They don't justify, and they don't apologize. Men just go about their day just doing whatever they want, right? So that's been a big journey for me. And I think that when you're always in a state of, oh, will they approve of me? Will they like me? What will they think? Oh gosh, I've upset those people. Now I feel terrible. You're giving away your power. And I've given away my power a bunch of times. I've given my power away to men that didn't deserve it. I've overexerted myself to, this has actually happened a lot in business for me, as well as personal relationships. And it's like, why? Like, I'm not doing that again. So for me, it's like reclaiming my power and just going, no, that's it. And then just moving on. Yeah. So the biggest thing I've done, and I'm still working on it. Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. Power of no. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Is there any particular technique or principle that you find most interesting that you can use to then empower, say, the people that you get to serve? Or that perhaps you might have a technique that's empowering to you? Well, and if so, what would that be?
So like if I'm teaching jiu-jitsu, yeah. Um, it depends on what angle, because there's quite a lot of stuff I cover, and the way I teach and deal with people is in a lot of depth, because I think you can learn a bunch of techniques, but if you don't have the confidence behind it, or you don't know the concepts, or so. But I think probably the biggest thing that I'm about, and that I enforce, and this is why I have Lethal Ladies, which is a whole pile of rogues. We're all rogues, badass rogues. Is that I encourage you to march to the beat of your own drum. Just walk your own path. Don't walk anyone else's.
Yes.
So we get caught up in doing what other people think we should, or what's expected of the jiu-jitsu industry, and not actually going within and questioning, well, why am I doing this? And this is something that's come up a lot lately with toxic loyalty. Coaches who demand loyalty, like, you can't go to cross train at that gym, you can't go to that event, you can't go there. It's like the head instructor or the gym coach or owner just demands that loyalty, blind loyalty. And the paying member, by the way, this is a business, the paying member is kind of like, okay, so then they're trapped. And so there's a lot of kind of manipulation and grooming and toxic masculinity, black belt worship in jiu-jitsu, unfortunately. It's also a big thing that I'm trying to work on opening people's eyes up to. And once these ladies, particularly, they see that they can make whatever decision they want that's right for them, then their whole journey in jiu-jitsu changes. So probably that's the main thing I'm encouraging.
Yeah. I get it. And I dare say, based from your experience, has there been any sort of misconceptions that people may have had about what you do? Like, I know when I talk to my girlfriends and let them know, oh, I'm going for a roll tonight, so I can't make that. Or how do you do that? They'll question me, how do you go roll? How do you do that? How does it? It's my dad's a big one. He's like, how do you go rolling around with boys? And what does your husband say? And this and that. I'm like, my husband supports me. He's 100% supportive. I said to him, it's so. Is there any sort of misconceptions that people have had, that have brought it up to you? And is there anything that you would like to say to clarify? What you do, or what we do on the mats is basically
It's
super
hilarious,
empowering.
isn't it?
In my opinion, it's super empowering. But how would you put it in your way?
Super empowering. I agree. Jiu-jitsu is growing really rapidly. I think a lot of women in their older years, like not 20-year-olds. A lot of mums and business executives starting. It's fantastic. So I'm curious to see what kind of conversations they're having with their friends as well. But even though it's growing, there's still a vast amount of people that have no idea what this is, and they think it's judo or karate, right? And I don't know. I don't talk about it with my non-jiu-jitsu friends. I just don't. It's too weird for them. It's a world that they just can't identify with. And so I leave it. That's just not, yeah. But I wish more people would understand it. So there's a lot of people who come my way who want to learn self-defense, and it's like convincing them of the power, of the value of it. That's a bit hard, that I'm finding. Like, how do you what's the next step of like these women who want to empower themselves with these life-changing and life-saving skills, getting them on the mat to like just feel that empowerment of like, yeah, all right, I see how this would work, and yes, this works for me, and that's really good. So that's still a little bit of where I'm at. So any suggestions are welcome, because how do you describe this? Yeah, I roll around with men and I choke people and I break their arms. I mean, like how?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Unless you're sort of in there doing it, it's hard. You've got to experience it to know it and feel it, I think.
That's it. Yes. So yeah, I don't know. Hats off to all those people that have done great marketing on getting a whole bunch of fresh newbies into jiu-jitsu, because from outside to actually getting them in, I think that's the hard part. So
100%. Now, you've run multiple retreats. I've seen these lifestyle retreats that you've ran in the past. I've followed the journey, and it looks amazing. What are some of the sort of key takeaways that your attendees have walked away with that you can recall?
Yes. So this is a big part of what I do as well. And I've been running like about 2 retreats a year for the last 8 years or so. And everything I do actually is organic, and it happens by demand. So I'm grading more and more women under me because they want a female leader. They don't want to be under a man. So that's my newest thing that's happening. So that's just an example of why things come about in my world and then end up just growing because it's needed, it's wanted, there's a demand for it. My lifestyle camps happen the same way. It was Pan Ams, and there were a lot of ladies, because I'm also a 4-time Pan Am champion, and that's kind of what I'm known for a lot of the time, actually. Pan Ams they were more local in California, unless in my day, a lot of them were in Brazil, so it's a bit harder to get to for the Worlds. And so ladies were like, well, how did you do it? I want to know your secret. What did you do for Pan Ams? And so I had 8 ladies all saying they wanted to stay with me, see how I trained, see how I ate, like how did I live my life preparing for a tournament? I'm like, okay, well, come over. This is how it worked. Everyone sandwiched together, like sharing beds and stuff. And then I'm like, we're doing this. So the next camp that happened was huge, and then it just kept on going, and they have an East Coast, a West Coast, ladies from all over. And I think the best thing about these camps is it's not just a jiu-jitsu camp. It's a life camp where we focus on overall health and wellness from an emotional, spiritual, and physical perspective, with jiu-jitsu thrown in, to be honest. And because I have these camps in big houses rather than individual hotel rooms, we're all squashed in, thrown in together, but we're forced to connect, collaborate. And because like attracts like, it's always the most amazing ladies coming there. They're all gel together. And probably the best thing about these camps are the lifelong friendships that are made within them. Yeah, it's really collaborative. Yeah.
And are those girls still training, and have they moved on to compete?
Oh, well, yeah. And there's ladies who have like done 4 camps with me. It's like they're fixed. You know, some of them are the only girl at their gym or just not around other women, so they come to my camps to get that. They have 5 days of training with only women and being around women, and women that are like-minded, you know. So going back to what you were saying with how do you describe to your friends like what you do? Well, you're surrounded by these women that completely relate to everything that you're going through, and it's just such a supportive environment. So honestly, it's not really what I'm doing at these camps. It's all the ladies. It's that's what makes these camps awesome. The incredible women, how they connect, and the lifelong friendships that they make themselves.
And Sophia, would it be fair to say that this tribe that you have attracted to in your life, you know, these women are just being pulled by the essence that you have within you? Would it be fair to say that it adds on to your level of confidence?
Yes, it does. Sometimes I have to pinch myself. I'm like, holy crap, this is real. Because my tribe is pretty damn big. It's amazing, and there are so many incredible women, like incredible. I don't see myself as anyone that's more outstanding. There's women here that are so highly accomplished in their careers, so highly evolved spiritually, just incredible, exceptional people. There's mothers of 5 kids. Everyone has a story. And so I pinch myself in some ways, like this can't be real because of the amount of incredible women. But I am a huge believer of like what you're vibrating and what you're putting out there, and like attracts like. And, you know, I'm not going to lie, there is a lot of toxicity in jiu-jitsu with men and women. And I just made a note. I think I remember the day it happened. I'm like, I am not dealing with any level of toxicity in this industry, like zero. I have this field around me that's like, but also how do I say, like a shield, a huge barrier. And it is so strong. I know it because it's been impenetrable for like the last 6 years at least, that anyone that is operating on a lower level with insecurities where they're going to be bitchy, they're going to cut down other people, you know what I mean? Like low level negative stuff where they're, you know, being nasty to others, or competitive off the mat. That's another thing. When you know, the match is finished, but if you're catty and competitive and you know, doing all that stuff, there's no room in my world for that. Like none. I have a zero tolerance policy for it, and I do believe that it's very strongly emanating because that just doesn't come my way. Yeah, and I'm so blessed, and it's amazing. You know, those bitchy, insecure people, they're just not part of my world. They're dropped off.
Simple as that.
Yeah,
simple really. As that. Yeah, I get it. And how amazing is it that when we reach a certain age, you know, with life experience comes that level of, you know, I've got zero tolerance for that. I do not have to deal with that. I do not have to put up with that. You know, you know, the know thyself. Know thyself. And you clearly are at that level where you know, you've experienced enough life experience where you're like, this is who I am. This is how I show up. You know, and I love that about you. So thank you. And may I suggest, and dare I say, continue that attitude. And my goodness, your tribe is just going to get even bigger and bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And as being the leader of this platform, my goodness, that's just going to filter through. And my goodness, look out world, look out BJJ world.
It's huge, you know. Like I've got 7 more brown belts to grade up by the end of this year, and another lady who wants to get a black belt under me. Like it's just building, and they've chosen to be graded under, or I wouldn't even say under, by a woman. I see us side by side collaborating together, and yeah, so this really is growing. It's just incredible. So I'm
so good. So good. So where to from here? How else would you want to grow? Where do you see yourself growing from here?
My path is actually very clear. It always has been, and I've broken them down in steps. So first it was to become this competitor, to be on the map, to do what I really needed to do, which is empower. I've always known my mission. So first it was to become that competitor and be the first black belt from my country. Then it was to be a head professor and become this leader as a teacher. I think I've taught more seminars than most of the guys, if not all the girls. Traveled the world teaching for the last 8 years, 10 years. And then, so there's a head professor, and now I've morphed into this role of being a businesswoman. And, you know, I want to show the world that you can be a female in this industry and make a decent living from it. You don't have to be someone's wife. And do you know what I mean? A lot of women doubt their ability to be able to open a gym because they're like, well, who will come and learn from me? I'm here to say everyone will come and learn from you, you know? So that's my journey now. But where I'm morphing into, because of the uniqueness of Lethal Ladies being women only, is that I'm heading into a direction of doing trauma-informed work as well. So unfortunately, through my time in teaching self-defense and jiu-jitsu, there's been so many women come my way who have been victims of abuse, domestic violence, or the crap that goes on in jiu-jitsu. And so I'm doing my trauma-informed certification to then have all the knowledge and skill set to then add it to my curriculum. So you can have your whole women's curriculum with me, as well as the trauma-informed, and it's going to help co-ed gyms build their women's women's section, because they're going to be trained to recognize this stuff and deal with and handle it too. And also for individual women to come my way and feel safe. It's a safe space. And so from then, when more gyms have this trauma-informed curriculum, there's going to be a whole database of safe spaces. So a woman who's traveling, she just log on and go, oh, I'll go to that gym because that's registered as a safe space, basically. Yeah, that's the direction this is heading.
That's going to be huge. Absolutely huge. Especially given what's happened in the last few years and the impact of that's going to be seen, or it's already being, it's already hit the surface, but it's just going to get worse over the years, how that's going to come up and show up into the world. So amazing. Okay, I'm mindful of your time, and I want to ask you one more question before I ask what other wisdom you have. But have you got someone that inspires you? Like, who is your person that you sort of look up to, that is your favorite, I suppose, martial artist or instructor or your mentor? Who have influenced you on your journey?
So, I've been asked this before and I've never been able to give an answer.
Okay.
Because, there were some female black belts before me, but I really paved the way from my country and then in general on so many levels. I don't have one in jiu-jitsu. I don't know if that's bad or good, but I just don't. I think role models for me are, I don't know, like the Doctors Without Borders, those people that just give up their lives to just literally save dying people. I think they're incredible. Hats off to them, because they're out in the fields doing work that I wouldn't. They're my heroes.
I love it. Have we got time for one more question?
Sure.
Can you describe a memorable moment in your competition or training that stood out the most, that you got the greatest insight?
I think winning gold at the Pan Ams in 2014 for me, because I had a baby and a toddler. And I think if you're a woman that's had kids, you just understand that it's what you have to go through to get to the level to be able to compete at the highest level. It's not actually the day, it's all leading up to it. And, you don't sleep, you're breastfeeding. It's ball and chain. I was running businesses back then, running a gym. It's just, yeah. So that for me is like, wow, I think I was the only one who was a mum. And so that really says a lot. And now, again, with this shift, I see amazing, incredible women under the rafters breastfeeding their babies before they jump on to fight. I think they are heroes. These ladies are the heroes. There we go. Let's add that. Okay.
Got it.
Incredible. But yeah, when I was pregnant, because I have two beautiful girls, 10 and 12, I would vomit 10 times a day, every day with morning sickness, and still get on the mat. I remember throwing up between rounds. Like, it's just horrible. Wow. And this is what us women do. Like, we just, we're all warriors. We're just incredible. So hats off to all of us ladies.
Us. We get things done.
We get things done, and we get it done in states of deep discomfort. Sorry, men, if you're hearing, but you have a sniffly nose, you're on the couch, the world's coming to an end. Zero sympathy, so yeah.
Oh God, Sophia, do you have any last minute words of wisdom that you wish to share?
No, just believe in yourself. Firstly, know your why, and believe in yourself and your skills, because you're all awesome. Everyone's awesome.
Yeah, I truly believe we're all here, helping each other evolve and grow. And the more we can sprinkle all of that magic dust around the globe, as you are already doing, the more that this place that we live in, that we call home for the interim, can become a better, fruitful place for us to live and survive. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And thank you for those of you who are watching, who are listening. I hope that you found this podcast valuable. Until next time, keep learning. Remember to be respectful, stay curious, and just get things done. That's it. That's all you're going to do. Just get things done.
Well, thank you for inviting me on this show. It's been a real honor.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.